Hello, welcome to the Deep Dive, brought to you by the Learn English Lab. Today, we're diving deep into a question that sparks conversations everywhere, from professional circles to family gatherings. Can emotional intelligence truly be taught? Is it something you're simply born with, a fixed part of your makeup, or can you actually develop it over time, just like any other vital skill? To really set the scene, let's consider a scenario. It's pretty common, plays out in organizations every single day. Imagine Maya and Jordan, both incredibly bright, very skilled, applying for the same demanding leadership role. Now, on paper, their qualifications look strikingly similar. Both have impressive degrees, top universities, you know the drill. Both have a decade of relevant experience. And both can list this formidable array of technical skills needed for the job. But their interview experiences, they diverge quite dramatically. Maya walks into the room, right? She has this warm, genuine smile, immediately puts the hiring manager at ease. She quickly notices maybe a subtle weariness in the manager's eyes. And she opens with a thoughtful comment, acknowledging how busy they must be, expressing appreciation for their time. It's a nice touch. As the conversation progresses, Maya is she's an exceptionally engaged listener, really absorbing things, responding with genuine consideration. When the manager talks about company challenges, Maya adapts her tone. She offers understanding, empathy, before she even starts suggesting solutions. Jordan, on the other hand, he enters radiating confidence, sure, but his approach is noticeably, rigid. He delivers accurate, precise answers, technically spot on. But he seems to miss the subtle cues, the manager's body language, maybe a slight shift, a quiet sigh. When challenges come up, he dives straight into technical solutions, complex strategies laid out perfectly. But he kind of misses the human element, the impact on people, the emotional side. Both are undeniably competent. But in the end, Maya gets the position. And the deciding factor wasn't just her technical skill, which was basically on par with Jordan's. It was her remarkable emotional intelligence, high EI. This kind of thing, this scenario, it's becoming more and more prevalent. And it really spotlights why this question, can EI be taught, is so vital today. We're living in an era where AI, artificial intelligence, is rapidly handling more technical tasks, right?
Which shifts human roles towards needing more nuanced interpersonal skills.
Mm-hmm. The human touch becomes more valuable.
Exactly. And our teams, they're more global, more diverse than ever. That demands a sharp understanding of different perspective, different emotional landscapes.
Communication across cultures, empathy. It's crucial.
And frankly, with rising stress, burnout, mental health challenges becoming so prominent, the ability to manage our own emotions and understand others' feelings, it's not just a professional asset anymore.
No, it's fundamental, a critical life skill, really.
It influences everything, doesn't it? How we lead teams, resolve conflicts, make decisions under pressure, how we build relationships, full stop.
Absolutely, it touches every interaction.
So the core question remains, can this crucial skill, this emotional intelligence, genuinely be cultivated? Can we learn it?
It's a great question. And, let me give you the spoiler alert early on.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence can absolutely be taught and developed.
Okay. Straight answer. I like it. But, and this is important, we need to be clear about how it's learned. This isn't like memorizing historical dates or, drilling multiplication tables.
Right. It's not rote learning.
Not at all. It's a far more dynamic process, more immersive. Think of it maybe like learning to play a musical instrument.
Okay. How so?
Well, you need to grasp the theory, sure, but then you have to practice scales, pieces, endlessly. Or like training for a sport physical effort, repetition builds strength, coordination, or even mastering a new language. That takes immersion, right?
Sure.
You have to tolerate making mistakes, put in consistent long-term effort. EI is kind of like that.
So it requires active engagement, not just passive knowledge.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And for this kind of deep learning, a few key ingredients are absolutely essential. First, you generally need some guidance.
Guidance, like a coach or a framework.
Could be someone or something to help you see what you might not see in yourself or in social dynamics. We all have blind spots.
True. Okay, what else?
Second, and this is crucial, consistent, intentional practice. It's not passive. You have to actively engage, apply it, repeat it.
Practice, practice, practice.
You got it. And third, you need regular feedback.
Feedback. How does that work?
Both internally, through thoughtful self-reflection, asking yourself how things went, what you felt, and externally, maybe even more powerfully, getting input from others.
Like asking someone, how did I handle that?
Exactly. Getting that mirror to your emotional impact.
Yeah.
And what's vital here is that EI isn't a one-time achievement. You don't just get it and you're done.
Right. It's not a checkbox.
No. It's an ongoing, lifelong developmental journey. a continuous process of growth, refinement, learning more about yourself and others.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit more, because a lot of people, I think, confuse emotional intelligence with traditional IQ, the intelligence quotient. They sound related, but they're quite different, aren't they?
Very different, yes, though both measure important aspects of human capability.
So IQ, that's usually about cognitive abilities, right?
Right.
Logic, math skills, memory recall.
That's the general idea, yes. Things like logical reasoning, analytical problem solving.
And IQ is considered, well, largely stable after adolescence.
Generally, yes. Your foundational cognitive horsepower, so to speak, tends to remain relatively consistent. It helps you solve those complex analytical problems.
You can learn more facts, obviously, but the underlying ability doesn't shift dramatically.
That's the common understanding in the field.
Okay, now EI, emotional intelligence, how does that compare?
EI measures something different: emotional and social abilities. How well you perceive, understand, manage, and use emotions, both your own and others.
And here's the kicker, right? EI can change. It can improve throughout life.
Significantly. That's the pivotal difference. EI is malleable. It's something you can actively develop across your entire lifespan.
So the old saying, IQ might get you in the door.
But EI helps you stay, grow, and lead once you're inside. That sums it up pretty well. It's not about memorizing facts. It's about practice, self-awareness, feedback.
It's what lets you thrive in complex human systems, basically.
You got it. That's why understanding EI is so important.
Okay, so for this deep dive, our mission then is not just to answer yes to whether it can be taught.
Right. Our aim is to really equip you, the listener, with a solid understanding. We want to offer clear definitions, look at the scientific evidence, share some real-life stories to make it relatable.
And practical exercises too, right? Things people can actually do.
Absolutely. Practical exercises you can apply immediately. By the end, you won't just know the answer. Hopefully, you'll see EI as a skill set, abilities you can actively build and strengthen, not just some fixed gift.
Excellent. That leads us perfectly into the next logical step. What exactly is emotional intelligence? We need to nail down some definitions.
We really do. The term is used so widely now: corporate settings, self-help books, scientific papers, even just casual chat.
And it can mean slightly different things depending on the context, can't it?
It certainly can. Without a clear shared understanding, talking about EI can be like... Well, your music analogy earlier was spot on. Talking about music, when one person means opera and another means EDM.
You're not really on the same page.
Exactly. So let's clarify. Let's lay out some of the foundational models of what emotional intelligence truly covers.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Maybe with the model most people have heard of.
That makes sense. Let's start with Daniel Goleman. He didn't coin the term, but he definitely popularized it. His model breaks EI into 5 core components. Think of them as building blocks.
Okay, 5 components. What's the first one?
The foundation is self-awareness. This is your ability to recognize and understand your own emotions, and crucially, to grasp how those emotions impact your thoughts, your behavior, even your physical state.
So knowing what you're feeling and why and what it does to you.
Precisely. For instance, imagine you're about to give that big presentation. You feel your palms sweat, your heart race.
Yep, familiar feeling.
Self-awareness lets you pause, notice those physical signs, and then label the feeling. Okay, I'm feeling nervous because this is important to me.
Ah, so you name it.
Naming it helps you step back. It's often the first step toward managing it. And for you listening, a simple exercise. Try keeping a mood journal for a week.
Just jotting down feelings and triggers.
Yeah. When did you feel a strong emotion? What
Yeah.
was happening? What did you do? Over time, you start seeing patterns. It builds that self-awareness muscle.
Okay, self-awareness is block 1. What's next?
Building directly on that is self-regulation. This is the ability to control, or maybe better put, redirect disruptive emotions and impulses.
So not letting your feelings run the show, thinking before you act.
Exactly. Especially when you're feeling emotional pressure. Example, a coworker makes a sarcastic comment. You feel that flash of anger.
Tempting to snap back.
Right. But self-regulation means you pause, you take a deliberate breath, create a little internal space, and choose how to respond. Maybe you address it calmly in private.
Okay, so choosing your response instead of just reacting.
Yeah.
How can people practice that?
A really useful tool is the S-Stuff-AP method. Simple but effective. S, stop what you're doing. T, take a breath, a real one. O, observe your thoughts and feelings, just notice them without judgment. P, Proceed with intention. Choose your next step consciously.
Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. STOP. I like that. Easy to remember.
It really helps create that crucial pause.
So we have self-awareness, self-regulation. What are the other three in Goleman's model?
The other three are motivation. This is about being driven by an internal passion, achieving for the sake of achievement itself, not just for external rewards like money or status.
Intrinsic motivation.
Exactly. Then there's empathy. This is that profound ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, to really step into their shoes, see things from their perspective.
Feeling with people, not just for them.
That's a good way to put it. And finally, social skills. This covers managing relationships, building networks, finding common ground, building rapport. It's about applying your emotional understanding in interactions.
Okay, so those five: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills, they all work together.
They do. And they build on each other, starting with that foundation of self-awareness.
Now, you mentioned Goleman popularized EI, but he didn't coin the term. Who did?
Right. The term itself was introduced earlier, back in 1990, by two psychologists, John Mayer and Peter Salovey.
Mayer and Salovey, okay.
They developed what's often called the four-branch model of emotional intelligence. It offers a slightly different, perhaps more scientific, skill-based perspective.
4 branches, what are they?
Briefly, they are perceiving emotions accurately in oneself and others, using emotions to facilitate thinking, like using mood to aid creativity, understanding emotions, knowing how emotions combine and change, and managing emotions, regulating your own and influencing others.
Perceiving, using, understanding, managing. It sounds more like a cognitive ability model in some ways.
It is framed that way. It treats EI as a form of intelligence that can actually be measured through objective, skill-based tests, not just self-reports. It provides a strong scientific underpinning.
Which is important, and that distinction, maybe between Goleman's more applied model and Mayer and Salovey's ability model, leads to another common point of confusion, doesn't it? EI versus personality.
Absolutely. This trips a lot of people up. They equate EI with just being naturally extroverted or agreeable or just generally nice.
But it's not the same thing.
Not at all. The key difference lies in stability versus adaptability. Personality traits like introversion or extroversion, conscientiousness, neuroticism, these tend to be relatively stable patterns over your lifetime. They're sort of like your default settings.
Your baseline way of being.
Kind of. Emotional intelligence skills, however, are adaptable. They're capabilities you can learn, practice, and apply differently in different situations. You can develop them.
So someone who is naturally introverted could actually have very high EI.
Definitely. An introvert might excel in deep listening, careful observation, and thoughtful empathy, all core EI skills. Conversely, an extrovert might be great at building networks, but struggle with regulating their own impulses or truly understanding others' quieter emotional cues.
So EI isn't about who you are inherently, like personality.
It's more about what you do with your emotional awareness and skills, how effectively you navigate the emotional world, both internal and external.
Okay, that clarification is really helpful. Now, one of the most powerful ideas I came across preparing for this was the concept of EI as a meta skill. What does that actually mean?
That's a great concept. A meta skill is essentially a skill that influences how you use all your other skills. It sits above them, in a way, and directs their application.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about that brilliant scientist we mentioned. Groundbreaking ideas, technically superb. But if they struggle to communicate clearly, listen to colleagues, or handle disagreements constructively, all EI-related skills, their brilliance might get stuck. They can't collaborate effectively.
Their technical skill doesn't translate into team success.
Exactly. Or consider a super talented software coder, technically gifted. But if they can't handle constructive feedback without getting defensive or shutting down, their career might stall. Their lack of self-regulation or social skill sabotages their technical talent.
So the EI, or a lack of it, impacts the effectiveness of the other skills.
Precisely. That's why the analogy of EI as the operating system for your mind works quite well.
The operating system. Okay, explain that.
Well, just like your computer's OS determines how well all your software applications run together, your emotional intelligence dictates how effectively all your other skills, technical knowledge, problem solving, creativity, you name it, function in the real world.
A good OS makes everything run smoothly.
Right. A robust level of emotional intelligence allows all your other capabilities to be applied much more effectively, especially when interacting with other people or dealing with pressure.
That really highlights its importance. It's not just a nice to have.
Definitely not. And to really drive home this real-world impact, think about something like the flight attendant test.
The flight attendant test, what's that?
It's not an official test name, but it reflects how airlines often assess EI during recruitment. They're known for rigorous interviews, right?
Absolutely, a high stakes.
Well, they don't just ask technical questions about safety procedures. They observe how candidates behave. How do they respond to a simulated angry passenger? How do they show empathy to someone who seems distressed? How do they work with others under simulated pressure?
Ah, so they're looking at the EI skills in action.
Exactly. Because on a real flight, when things go wrong, delays, turbulence, anxious passengers, medical issues, those emotional skills are just as critical as the technical ones.
Maybe even more so in certain moments. Staying calm, de-escalating, connecting with people under stress.
That's what defines success in that kind of critical, people-facing role. It underscores that EI isn't just fluff. It's a core competency in many demanding jobs.
Okay, that really sets the stage. We know what EI is, roughly, and why it matters. Which brings us back to that huge question, the one that people often ask instinctively. Are we just born with it? Is it fixed, like eye color?
That nature versus nurture question.
Yeah. It's tempting to look at someone who is naturally calm or empathetic and think, well, they were just born like that. But is that the whole story?
It's rarely the whole story when it comes to complex human traits. To really answer this, we need to move beyond gut feelings and look at what psychology and, importantly, neuroscience tell us.
Okay. So is there an innate component, a nature side to EI?
Yes, there appears to be. Research suggests that some of our emotional tendencies or predispositions do have a genetic component. Some individuals might inherit a higher reactivity to stress, for example.
Like being naturally more jumpy or anxious?
Could manifest that way, yes. Others might show greater social curiosity or openness from a very young age. Psychologists call this underlying biological basis for emotional and behavioral patterns temperament.
Temperament, like how babies are sometimes described as easy or difficult.
Exactly. Those early temperamental differences, how adaptable a baby is, how intensely they react, their general mood, these can certainly influence how we initially process and respond to emotions. They set a kind of baseline.
And I sense a but coming, that baseline isn't destiny, right?
That's the crucial point. Temperament provides a starting point, but it absolutely does not seal our fate regarding emotional intelligence. It's just one factor in a much larger equation.
So that brings us to the nurture side. Life experiences, socialization. How big a role does that play?
A huge role, arguably the dominant role over the long term. Even if you're born with a certain temperament, your environment, your interactions, the lessons you learn from childhood right through adulthood, these massively shade your actual emotional skills.
What kind of factors are we talking about?
Think about your early family environment. Was it one where emotions were discussed openly, or were they suppressed? How did your caregivers model handling stress or conflict?
Okay, family modeling is big.
Huge. Then there's education. Did your schooling encourage discussion of feelings, or was it more about just toughening up? Peer relationships, learning cooperation, empathy, navigating social dynamics with friends.
Yeah, you learn a lot from peers.
And even workplace culture later on. Does it encourage collaboration and psychological safety, or does it only reward technical results, ignoring the human cost? All these experiences sculpt your EI.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take two people who both have a naturally high biological stress response. One grows up in an environment where they learn mindfulness techniques early on, maybe through family or school. They learn to recognize the signs of stress and use breathing or reframing to manage it.
Okay.
The other person doesn't get that training. They might develop less healthy coping mechanisms. Fast forward 20 years, put them both in a high-pressure situation. Their inherent tendency might be similar, but the one with the learned emotional regulation skills will likely handle it far better, with less personal toll.
So the learner skills can override or manage the innate tendency.
They absolutely can. And this is where the neuroscience gets really exciting, especially the concept of neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, that's the brain's ability to change, right?
Exactly. Your brain is remarkably adaptable. It can physically and functionally change throughout your life based on your experiences, what you learn, and critically what you practice.
So practicing EI skills literally rewires the brain.
Quite literally. When you actively engage in emotional skills, like consciously pausing before reacting, deliberately labeling an emotion, feeling frustrated, or making an effort to see things from someone else's perspective, you are strengthening neural connections. You're making those pathways more efficient, even creating new ones.
Wow. Okay, tell me more about the brain parts involved.
Well, two key players in the emotional brain are the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, PFC.
The amygdala, that's the primitive reactive part.
Often called the brain's emotional alarm system, yes. It's super fast, designed to detect threats and trigger immediate responses: fight, flight, freeze.
And the prefrontal cortex?
That's the more evolved part, right at the front of your brain. It's like the brain's CEO, responsible for planning, reasoning, decision-making, and importantly, impulse control and emotional regulation.
So how do they interact in terms of EI?
In situations where emotional intelligence is low, the amygdala often hijacks the response. The alarm goes off, and you react quickly, emotionally, before the PFC fully engages.
That knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly. But when EI is high, the prefrontal cortex steps in much more quickly. It communicates with the amygdala, puts the brakes on the immediate impulse, allows for a pause, and helps you choose a more thoughtful, regulated response.
So EI training strengthens the PFC's role.
Precisely. Practices like mindfulness, empathy exercises, learning to label emotions, these strengthen the connections between the PFC and the amygdala. Brain scans actually show physical changes in these areas with consistent practice.
That's incredible. So the brain physically adapts to become more emotionally intelligent.
That's the hopeful message from neuroscience. You can literally train your brain.
And there's solid evidence that this training works in practice. Studies showing improvement.
Oh, absolutely. Compelling evidence from multiple areas. We mentioned mindfulness earlier. Studies show participants can have increased gray matter density in brain regions linked to self-awareness and empathy after just 8 weeks of practice.
8 weeks? That's fast.
It shows how responsive the brain can be. Then there's the huge body of research on social emotional learning SEL programs in schools. Consistently, schools implementing good SEL programs see students with better emotional regulation, fewer behavioral problems, improved social skills, and these gains often last.
So it works for kids. What about adults in the workplace?
Yes. Corporate training programs focused on EI have shown measurable results. Companies investing in these workshops often report improved leadership effectiveness ratings, better team cooperation, reduced conflict, and even higher customer satisfaction scores.
The impact is tangible then.
Very much so. The bottom line from all this evidence is, while your starting point might be influenced by genetics and early experiences, you can absolutely significantly raise your level of emotional intelligence through deliberate learning and practice.
It's not fixed. That's the key takeaway.
Not at all. And maybe a quick story helps illustrate this.
Yeah, please. Real-life examples are always powerful.
Okay, consider Dr. Kim, a brilliant heart surgeon, technically outstanding, one of the best. But her bedside manner, not so great. Patients and families found her abrupt, maybe a bit cold, lacking in empathy.
Technically skilled, but low on the people skills side.
Exactly. Her hospital recognized this was impacting patient experience and even team morale, so they encouraged her to participate in EI coaching.
How does she react?
Initially, quite resistant. She saw it as soft stuff, maybe a waste of time compared to honing her surgical skills. But she agreed to try.
Okay, so she gave it a shot.
Over about 6 months, she consciously practiced the skills. Active listening with patients, really trying to hear their concerns. Reflecting back their emotions. It sounds like you're feeling really worried. Pausing before responding, especially when talking to stressed families.
Hard work, especially if it didn't come naturally.
For sure. But the results, pretty remarkable. Her patient satisfaction scores went way up. Families felt heard and cared for. Team communication improved.
That's great.
And perhaps most surprisingly, Dr. Kim herself reported feeling less emotionally drained at the end of the day. By connecting more empathetically, she actually found her work more sustainable and rewarding.
Wow. So improving her EI helped her and her patient.
It transformed her practice. It shows that even highly skilled professionals, maybe even skeptics, can learn and benefit immensely from developing these skills.
That's a fantastic example. So bringing this whole nature versus nurture section together, what's the final verdict?
The verdict is pretty clear. It's definitely both. Nature gives you a starting point, a certain temperament, maybe some predispositions.
But
nurture your environment, your choices. And critically, the training and practice you undertake plays a massive role in shaping your actual functional emotional intelligence.
It's like the muscle analogy you used earlier.
Exactly. Genetics determine your basic physical frame, your potential starting strength. But consistent, focused training the workout is what actually builds the muscle, makes you stronger. Anyone can get stronger with the right effort.
And anyone can become more emotionally intelligent with the right effort and practice.
That's the empowering conclusion from decades of research.
Okay, so we've established EI can be learned. Now let's dig into the how. What's the science behind teaching emotional intelligence? It's not magic, right? There are actual mechanisms.
Absolutely not magic. It's rooted in solid science, psychology, neuroscience, behavioral science. Teaching EI involves strengthening specific skills through proven methods. Practice, feedback, repetition. It's a skill-building process, just like any other complex skill.
And you mentioned neuroplasticity earlier, the brain's ability to change. That's fundamental here, isn't it? Challenging those old ideas about fixed intelligence.
It's absolutely fundamental. For years, the idea that intelligence was largely static held sway, but neuroplasticity research turned that on its head. Our brains can and do rewire themselves based on experience.
So practicing empathy literally changes brain pathways related to empathy.
Precisely. And practicing self-regulation strengthens the neural circuits involved in impulse control. Repetition matters. It physically reshapes the brain's architecture over time.
And what about learning from others? Social learning.
That's the other key piece. Social learning theory, pioneered by Albert Bandura, highlights that we learn significantly by observing others, imitating their behavior, and modeling our actions based on the feedback we receive.
So watching someone handle conflict well and seeing it works makes us more likely to try it.
Exactly. Especially if we get guidance or feedback. Combine neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, with social learning, our ability to learn from others, and you have a powerful basis for intentionally training emotional responses, habits, and awareness.
It's a trainable system.
It really is.
You also mentioned the interplay between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Can we go a bit deeper into how EI training affects that specific relationship?
Sure. Think of the amygdala as the rapid response alarm, and the PFC as the considered regulating CEO. Under stress, the amygdala often fires first, triggering that immediate emotional reaction.
The hijack.
The hijack, yes. Emotional intelligence training helps strengthen the communication between the PFC and the amygdala. It helps the PFC engage faster and more effectively.
So it builds a better braking system for emotional impulses.
That's a great way to think about it. It creates a bigger pause button between stimulus and response. Each time you consciously practice regulating an emotion, taking that deep breath, reframing a negative thought, you're doing the mental equivalent of a bicep curl for your prefrontal cortex.
The emotional strength training.
Exactly. You're building that regulatory muscle. Over time, the pause becomes more automatic. The thoughtful response becomes easier.
And you mentioned specific studies earlier that back this up. Boyatzis and Sila, bracket.
Yes, those are key examples. The Boyatzis and Sila 2004 work showed long-term improvements in leadership competencies like empathy and conflict management after EI-based training. Mark Brackett and his team's research, like the 2011 study on the Ruler program in schools, consistently links SEL training to better academic performance, reduce anxiety, and improve social skills in students.
Ruler, that's an acronym, right?
Yes, it stands for Recognizing, Understanding, Labeling, Expressing, and Regulating Emotions. It's a very practical framework used in many schools.
Recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, regulating. Got it. And the mindfulness research.
Also crucial. Numerous studies show mindfulness practice leads to measurable changes in brain structure and function, particularly in areas vital for self-awareness, attention control, and emotional regulation, like the anterior cingulate cortex and parts of the prefrontal cortex. It physically changes the brain in ways that support EI.
The evidence seems pretty solid across different fields.
It really is. Which supports the idea that learning EI follows a structured process, much like learning any other skill. We can think of it in stages.
Stages of learning EI. Okay, what are they?
A common way to frame it is a 4-stage model. Stage 1 is awareness. Simply recognizing your own emotions and what triggers them. Just noticing.
Starting point, like the mood journal idea.
Exactly. Stage 2 is understanding. Going deeper, learning what these emotions mean, how they influence you, how different feelings connect.
So not just I'm angry, but I'm angry because I feel disrespected, and that makes me want to withdraw.
Precisely. Stage 3 is application. This is where the practice comes in. Actively trying out regulation techniques, practicing empathy in real conversations, applying the skills in daily life.
Putting theory into practice.
Right. And stage 4 is integration. Through consistent practice and reflection, the skills start to become more automatic, more natural. They become integrated into how you habitually operate. It's less conscious effort, more second nature.
Awareness, understanding, application, integration, it's a progressive buildup.
Exactly. It builds systematically from self-reflection towards mastery.
So given these stages, what are some of the most effective, practical tools or techniques that science supports for actually doing this work?
There's a great toolkit available. We've touched on some already. Mindfulness meditation is huge for building self-awareness and attentional control.
Just focusing on the breath or body sensations?
Yes, that non-judgmental present moment awareness is key. Role-playing scenarios are fantastic for practicing empathy and conflict resolution in a safe space. You get to try out different approaches without real-world consequences.
Like practicing a difficult conversation beforehand.
Exactly. Journaling, as we mentioned, is powerful for reflection, pattern recognition, and deepening understanding. Active listening exercises, really focusing on understanding another person without interrupting or planning your reply, directly build empathy and connection.
And feedback.
Feedback loops are critical. Actively seeking constructive feedback from trusted sources about how you come across emotionally, how you handle situations. This helps you fine-tune your behavior based on its actual impact.
So each of these tools kind of targets different aspects of EI or different stages of learning.
Yes, and they engage different brain networks, reinforcing those neural pathways for emotional intelligence from various angles.
Interesting. You also mentioned earlier that learning EI often works better in groups. Why is that? Individual practice seems important too.
Individual practice is essential, no doubt, but group settings add unique benefits. Firstly, social interaction provides constant, real-time practice opportunities. You're applying the skills immediately with others.
Learning by doing with actual people.
Right. Secondly, group members act as mirrors. You get immediate feedback, both verbal and nonverbal, on your emotional impact. Someone's reaction tells you a lot.
More direct than just self-reflection.
Often, yes. And thirdly, hearing others share their experiences, their struggles, their successes, it builds empathy and normalizes the learning process. You realize you're not alone in finding this challenging.
Creates a sense of shared learning.
Exactly. So while individual work like journaling or meditation is vital, the group dynamic often helps the learning stick and translate more effectively into real-world social skills. EI is inherently personal and social.
That makes sense. Now let's tackle that myth again, the emotionally gifted idea. People who just seem naturally good at this stuff. You said it's often about early exposure.
That's generally the case, yes. What looks like innate talent is often the result of growing up in an environment where EI skills were modeled and encouraged early on.
Like having parents who talked openly about feelings or navigated conflict well.
Exactly. Or maybe they had diverse life experiences that forced them to develop resilience, adaptability, and understanding of different perspectives from a young age. They essentially got a head start on the practice, often without even realizing it.
So it's not an exclusive club they were born into?
Not at all. It just means they started their training earlier. The crucial message is that anyone can start that training at any point and make significant progress. It's never too late to learn and grow these skills.
That's a really important message. So wrapping up this science section, the key takeaway is?
The key takeaway is that emotional intelligence is fundamentally teachable. It's not a fixed trait. It's a set of learnable skills supported by the brain's amazing capacity for change, neuroplasticity, and reinforced through intentional practice, feedback, and reflection. The science is clear. Anyone can strengthen their EI.
Fantastic. Okay, building on that solid foundation, let's shift focus to a really critical area, emotional intelligence in education. We usually think of schools focusing on academics, math, science, literature.
The traditional subjects, yes.
Right. But increasingly, there's recognition that emotional skills are just as vital for students to truly thrive, not just academically, but in life. So, can EI be effectively woven into the school curriculum?
The answer is a definite yes, and it's incredibly important that we do. Thinking about EI in education isn't just about making kids nicer. It's far more fundamental.
What do you mean by fundamental?
It's about equipping students with essential life tools. Tools for understanding their own often confusing feelings. Tools for communicating their needs clearly and respectfully. Tools for resolving conflicts non-violently. Tools for managing the everyday stresses of school and life in healthy ways.
Skills that serve them well beyond the classroom.
Absolutely. And the research backs this up strongly. Students with higher emotional intelligence tend to perform better academically. They can focus better, manage test anxiety, persist through challenges.
Interesting link to academics.
Definitely. They also tend to have stronger relationships with peers and teachers. They make healthier choices, resisting negative peer pressure, thinking through consequences, and they show greater resilience. They bounce back better from setbacks and disappointments.
So it really sets them up for success in a much broader sense.
Precisely. Nurturing emotional intelligence early on lays a robust foundation for success and well-being in virtually every aspect of life.
Okay, so if it's so beneficial, how can schools actually teach it? You use the muscle analogy, starting early makes it stronger. What does that look like in a school setting?
There are many effective approaches. One of the most well-known is implementing structured social-emotional learning (SEL) programs. We mentioned CASEL and Ruler earlier. These programs explicitly teach core competencies.
Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. Those 5.
Those are the CASEL 5, yes.
Yeah.
SEL programs integrate lessons and activities focused on these areas right into the school day. For example, a primary classroom might start with a daily feelings check-in or feeling circle.
Where kids share how they're feeling.
Exactly. It normalizes talking about emotions, builds vocabulary for feelings, and fosters empathy as kids listen to each other. It creates a more supportive atmosphere right from the start.
What else besides formal programs?
Role-playing and scenario practice are incredibly valuable. Acting out common situations like disagreements on the playground, handling disappointment, giving or receiving feedback, let students practice skills like negotiation, empathy, and emotional regulation in a safe, low-stakes way.
Practice without real-world fallout.
Exactly. Schools can also teach mindfulness and relaxation techniques, simple breathing exercises, short guided meditations, having a designated calm down corner in the classroom. These give students practical tools for self-soothing and managing stress or big emotions when they arise.
Teaching them to regulate themselves.
Yes, and even simple things like emotion vocabulary lessons, explicitly teaching words beyond just happy, sad, mad words like frustrated, anxious, proud, disappointed, overwhelmed. Giving kids the language helps them articulate their inner world more precisely.
If you can name it, you can manage it better.
That's often the case. And finally, things like collaborative projects. Group assignments inherently require teamwork, communication, patience, perspective-taking, all key EI skills. Debriefing the process of group work, not just the outcome, can highlight the importance of these skills for collective success.
So it can be integrated in many ways, from explicit lessons to the way activities are structured.
Absolutely. A multifaceted approach is usually most effective.
And what about the role of the teachers themselves in all this?
The role of teachers is absolutely crucial. Probably the most critical factor, actually. Teachers aren't just instructors of academic content. They are powerful emotional role models.
How they handle their own emotions matters.
Immensely. How does a teacher react when stressed? How do they communicate with colleagues? How do they respond when a student makes a mistake or has an emotional outburst? Students are watching and learning constantly.
So a teacher with strong EI can create a much healthier classroom environment.
Absolutely. They can de-escalate situations calmly. They can offer encouragement genuinely. They notice and respond to students' underlying emotional needs, not just their behavior. They give feedback constructively without shaming. They model empathy and respect.
Which suggests that teacher training in EI is also really important.
Incredibly important. Providing teachers with professional development to build their own emotional intelligence empowers them to create those emotionally safe and supportive learning environments where students can truly thrive. They need the skills themselves to model them effectively.
Makes total sense. And when schools successfully implement this kind of EI education, what's the broader impact? Does it stay within the school walls?
Oh, not at all. There's a significant ripple effect that extends far beyond the classroom.
Like what?
Well, students bring these skills home. They might communicate better with parents and siblings, handle disagreements more constructively. Family dynamics can improve.
Okay, impact on the family.
Within the school, peer relationships often improve. Bullying tends to decrease when empathy and understanding increase. Students learn to resolve conflicts peacefully.
Safer school environment.
Yes. And research also suggests links to reduced dropout rates. When students feel more connected, understood, and supported emotionally, they're more likely to stay engaged in school.
Better engagement, better outcomes.
And looking further ahead, think about the impact on future workplaces and communities. Graduates entering the workforce already equipped with strong collaboration, communication, and conflict resolution skills. That's a huge benefit.
Preparing them for work and life, not just exams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An education that prioritizes emotional intelligence doesn't just fill heads with facts. It prepares students for the complexities and challenges of life itself. It builds a foundation for healthier individuals and a healthier society.
It seems like the benefits of teaching EI are really wide-ranging then. It's not just about individual well-being.
Not at all. While individual well-being is a huge part of it, the effects truly ripple outwards. When we talk about teaching emotional intelligence, we're talking about fostering skills that enhance relationships, improve performance, boost health, and contribute to a more positive and functional society. Let's explore some of those major benefits in more detail.
Okay, where should we start? Maybe with relationships, since EI seems so connected to how we interact with others.
That's a great starting point. Stronger relationships are a primary outcome. Think about it. Relationships, personal, professional, familial, thrive when people understand emotions, both their own and others.
How does EI help specifically?
An emotionally intelligent manager recognizes when an employee is feeling overwhelmed and offers support, building trust and loyalty. An EI-aware parent stays calm during a child's meltdown, responding with understanding instead of escalating the situation.
So it's about empathy and regulation in the moment.
Yes, and active listening. When people genuinely listen to understand, show empathy, and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively, trust deepens. Communication becomes more open and honest. Conflicts are navigated more constructively. The quality of connection improves dramatically.
Okay, stronger relationships. What's another key benefit?
Better decision-making. We often like to think we make decisions based purely on logic, but emotions influence our choices constantly, often unconsciously.
That gut feeling can sometimes lead us astray.
It can, especially if it's driven by fear or overexcitement or anxiety that we haven't acknowledged. Emotional intelligence helps you recognize when emotions are factoring into your decisions. It gives you that ability to pause, reflect, and weigh both logic and emotion consciously.
So you don't just react on impulse.
Exactly. An emotionally intelligent leader, for instance, won't rush into a risky merger just because they feel excited about it. They'll acknowledge the excitement, but also analyze the data objectively and consider the potential emotional impact on employees. It leads to more balanced, well-rounded decisions.
Makes sense. What about work? You mentioned performance earlier.
Yes, improved work performance is a huge benefit, especially in today's collaborative workplaces. In many roles, particularly those involving leadership, teamwork, or customer interaction, EI is actually a stronger predictor of success than traditional IQ or technical skills alone.
Really? Stronger than IQ?
Often, yes. Employees with high EI communicate more effectively, they build rapport easily, they resolve conflicts faster and more smoothly, they adapt to change with less resistance and stress, and they tend to inspire and motivate those around them.
So they're better team players and potentially better leaders.
Absolutely. That's why companies like Google, Microsoft, PepsiCo Major, successful organizations invest significantly in EI training for their people. They see the direct link to productivity, innovation, and a healthier work environment.
Okay, relationships, decisions, work performance. What about personal well-being?
Yeah.
Stress.
A major one. Lower stress and better mental health. How stressed we feel often isn't just about the external challenges we face, but about how we interpret and respond to those challenges emotionally.
Our reaction matters as much as the event.
Very much so. Emotional intelligence training gives you tools to manage those emotional reactions, learning to recognize stress triggers, regulate anxiety, reframe negative thoughts. This directly reduces overall stress levels, helps prevent burnout, and builds resilience.
Like that example of reacting to a critical email with curiosity instead of panic.
Exactly. That shift in response, enabled by self-awareness and regulation, makes a huge difference to your stress levels and your ability to handle the situation constructively. It protects your mental health.
And leadership. You touched on it, but how does EI specifically enhance leadership?
Enhance leadership skills.
Yeah.
Truly great leaders are rarely just brilliant strategists. They are exceptionally good with people. EI is fundamental to effective leadership.
Why? What does it enable leaders to do?
It helps leaders understand their team members' motivations and concerns. It enables them to communicate vision in a way that inspires and connects. It allows them to build loyalty through fairness, empathy, and consistent emotional regulation, especially under pressure.
Contrasted with a leader who lacks EI.
A leader low on EI might achieve short-term results, perhaps through command and control, but often at the cost of morale, trust, and long-term engagement. Emotionally intelligent leaders create environments where people feel valued and motivated, leading to more sustainable success.
Okay, what about conflict? It's inevitable in life and work.
EI is crucial for conflict resolution. Conflict itself isn't necessarily bad, but unmanaged conflict can be incredibly damaging. Without EI, disagreements easily spiral into personal attacks, defensiveness, and resentment.
How does EI help break that cycle?
It equips people with the skills to stay calm during disagreements, to listen actively to opposing viewpoints without immediately getting defensive, to articulate their own needs and perspectives, clearly using I statements, to focus on finding common ground and win-win solutions rather than just winning the argument.
Like what happens in good relationship therapy, maybe. Learning to communicate needs without blame.
That's a perfect example. Those are core EI skills being applied to resolve conflict constructively.
Interesting. Are there other benefits, maybe more internal ones?
Yes, another often overlooked benefit is greater self-confidence. It might sound counterintuitive, but delving into your emotions actually builds confidence.
How so?
As your self-awareness grows, you understand your emotional patterns. As your self-regulation improves, you feel more in control of your reactions. This sense of understanding and control naturally leads to greater self-assurance. Challenges start to feel less threatening and more like opportunities for growth because you trust your ability to handle the emotions involved.
You feel more capable of navigating emotional waters.
Exactly. And finally, let's zoom out. There's a positive impact on society as a whole.
How does individual EI contribute to society?
Imagine a society where more people are practicing empathy, managing their anger constructively, communicating respectfully across differences. On a larger scale, this translates to reduced aggression, less bullying, diminished prejudice and discrimination.
More understanding, less division.
Yes, more empathy, more respect for diverse perspectives, more effective communication. These are the building blocks of a more cooperative, compassionate, and ultimately more functional society. Teaching EI isn't just personal development, it's a contribution to a better world.
Wow, so the benefits really do span from the individual level right up to societal impact.
They absolutely do, which underscores why framing EI as just a soft skill really misses the mark. It's a fundamental life competency with profound and far-reaching positive consequences.
Okay, we've talked theory, science, benefits. Let's get really concrete now. You mentioned real-world examples earlier, Dr. Kim, the flight attendants. Can we explore some specific programs or applications where EI training is actively making a difference? Show how it's not just an idea, but something being done successfully.
Absolutely. Seeing EI in action really brings it to life. Let's look at a few diverse examples.
Great. Where should we start? Maybe back in schools?
Good place. We mentioned social and emotional learning, SEL, in schools, and the CASEL framework is a leading example. CASEL provides evidence-based frameworks focusing on those 5 core competencies we discussed: self-awareness, self-management, etc.
Right. How does it work in practice?
We'll take a Chicago elementary school that fully integrated CASEL's approach. They implemented daily emotion check-ins, taught explicit conflict resolution strategies, used literature to discuss characters' feelings, and structured group activities to promote empathy and collaboration.
So it was woven into the school's fabric.
Exactly. And the outcomes: significant reductions in disciplinary issues, improved attendance rates, gains in academic scores, and importantly, students reported feeling safer and having a greater sense of belonging at school.
Why did it work so well?
Because it systematically taught children the skills to recognize and manage their emotions before things escalated. It improved the entire classroom climate, making it more conducive to learning and positive interaction.
Powerful example. What about the corporate world?
A famous example is Google's Search Inside Yourself program. Recognizing EI as critical for innovation, leadership, and teamwork, Google developed this course internally.
Search Inside Yourself. Catchy name. What did it involve?
It heavily incorporates mindfulness practices, meditation, to build focus and self-awareness alongside techniques for recognizing emotional triggers and practicing compassionate communication.
Mindfulness meets emotional skills training.
Pretty much. And the results reported by Google included improved employee well-being, reduced stress, enhanced collaboration, and even boosts in productivity and creativity. They credit programs like this in part for fostering their innovative and resilient company culture. It complements their technical excellence.
Shows that even tech giants see the value in these human skills. Okay, what other fields?
Healthcare is another area with significant applications. Improving patient care often involves improving the EI of providers.
Like the Dr. Kim story, are there program examples?
Yes. For instance, a Boston hospital system introduced EI workshops for their nurses and doctors. The training focused specifically on empathetic communication with patients, managing the high stress of the job, and improving teamwork among staff.
What was the impact?
Patients reported feeling more heard, understood, and respected. Staff reported lower levels of burnout and emotional exhaustion. And crucially, the hospital saw a decrease in communication-related medical errors.
Wow, so better EI can literally improve patient safety.
It absolutely can. It demonstrates how vital these skills are in high-pressure, high-stakes service environments.
Any other surprising areas where EI training is used?
Perhaps more surprising to some is its use in rehabilitation and correctional programs. EI skills are being integrated into programs aimed at reducing recidivism, repeat offending.
How does that work?
Take a state prison program, for example. They implemented an EI curriculum teaching inmates skills like anger management, emotional regulation techniques, perspective taking to develop empathy for victims, and constructive communication for resolving conflicts within the facility.
What were the results there?
Reports showed decreased violence and fewer disciplinary incidents within the prison, inmates demonstrating better conflict resolution skills among themselves, and promising indications of reduced reoffending rates after release for those who completed the program.
That really shows the transformative potential, even in incredibly challenging environments.
It really does. It highlights that these are fundamental human skills relevant to everyone. And one more area, community and youth programs, especially those working with at-risk youth.
How is EI applied there?
Many nonprofits integrate EI workshops alongside mentoring and community service. For example, a program might help young people identify their emotional triggers, practice calming techniques, and develop empathy through structured activities. The impact can be significant: improved school engagement, reduced involvement in risky behaviors like gangs, and development of stronger leadership skills.
So across schools, corporations, healthcare, corrections, community programs, EI training is proving effective.
Very much so. It's adaptable and impactful across diverse contexts.
Looking at all these examples, are there common threads? What makes these programs successful?
A few key takeaways emerge. First, consistency matters. Long-term integrated programs almost always outperform short, one-off workshops. Building EI takes sustained effort.
Not a quick fix.
Definitely not. Second, practice trumps theory. The most effective programs emphasize active learning, role-playing, mindfulness exercises, real-life application, reflection, not just passively absorbing information.
You have to do it.
You have to do it. Third, leadership buy-in is crucial, especially in organizational settings like schools or companies. When leaders model and champion EI, it signals its importance and helps shift the culture.
Sets the tone from the top.
Exactly. And finally, measurement helps. Successful programs often incorporate ways to assess progress and gather feedback, allowing them to refine their approach and demonstrate impact.
So consistency, practice, leadership, and measurement. Good principles.
These seem to be common factors in effective EI initiatives. These real-world applications clearly show that teaching emotional intelligence isn't just a nice idea. It's practical, scalable, and delivers tangible benefits for individuals and the systems they're part of.
Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. We've covered the what, the why, the science, the benefits, the real-world proof. Now let's bring it right back to the listener. For someone listening right now, maybe they're a student, a professional, a parent, just someone curious who's thinking, okay, I'm convinced I want to develop my EI. What are the practical steps? How can you start building this skill today?
Excellent question. Let's shift to actionable steps. The good news is you don't need a formal program to start. You can begin cultivating your EI right now with some simple, consistent practices.
Okay, break it down for us. Where does someone start?
Start with the foundation. Cultivate self-awareness. Know your emotions. You can't manage what you don't recognize. This is about tuning into your feelings and understanding their influence.
How do you practice that tuning in?
3 simple ways. Keep that emotion journal. We mentioned it before, but it's powerful. Briefly note strong emotions, triggers, responses. Patterns will emerge. Pause and label. In the moment you feel something strong, mentally hit pause and just name the feeling. Okay, that's frustration. Or, I'm feeling anxious right now. This creates distance. Check your body. Your body often signals emotions before your mind fully registers them. Notice physical cues: tight shoulders, clenched jaw, racing heart. What might they be telling you?
So journal, label, check your body. Got it. That's for awareness. What's the next practical step?
Next is practice self-regulation. Manage your reactions. Awareness is step 1. Managing is step 2. This is about controlling impulses and responding thoughtfully.
How do you practice that, especially when emotions are high?
Again, a few techniques. Use the S-8 technique we discussed. Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. Practice it often, even in minor situations, so it becomes more automatic. Create if-then plans. Anticipate your triggers. If my coworker interrupts me again, then I will take a slow breath and calmly ask them to let me finish. Pre-planning helps automate a better response. delay responses, especially with emails or texts that trigger you. Practice waiting maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour before replying. Let the initial emotional wave pass.
S.P. if-then plans, delaying responses, practical ways to build that pause button. Okay, what about understanding others? Empathy.
Enhance empathy.
Yeah.
See through others' eyes. This is about developing your ability to understand and share others' feelings.
How can you actively practice empathy?
3 key practices. Active listening. This means really focusing on the other person, their words, tone, body language. Resist the urge to interrupt, formulate your reply, or judge. Just seek to understand. Summarize what you heard to check your understanding. Ask open-ended questions instead of yes-no questions. Ask things that encourage sharing feelings and perspectives. How did that situation make you feel? What's your perspective on this? Perspective-taking exercises. Deliberately try to imagine a situation from someone else's point of view, especially someone you disagree with or find difficult. Ask yourself, what might be going on in their world that I can't see? It breaks down assumptions.
Active listening, open questions, perspective taking, builds that outward focus. What about interacting with others more broadly? Social skills.
Build social skills. Connect and collaborate. This is about using your awareness and empathy to navigate social situations effectively.
How do you practice that?
Some starting points. Express appreciation. Make a conscious effort to genuinely acknowledge others' efforts, kindness, or contributions. A simple thank you or specific praise goes a long way. Manage conflicts calmly. We talked about this. Focus on the issue, not the person. Use I feel statements instead of blaming you always. Statements. Seek common ground. Observe social cues. Pay more attention to nonverbal communicate, facial expressions, tone of voice, posture. These often convey more than words. Try to read the room.
Appreciation, calm conflict reading cues. Got it. Seems like motivation is needed to keep this up.
Absolutely. Stay motivated. Cultivate a growth mindset. Developing EI is a marathon, not a sprint. You need fuel for the journey.
How do you keep that motivation going? Set meaningful goals. Connect your EI development to what truly matters to you. I want to build my EI so I can be a more patient parent or a more supportive colleague. Find your personal why. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and appreciate your progress no matter how small. Did you pause instead of reacting? Great. Did you really listen to someone? Excellent. Recognize the effort. Learn from setbacks. You will slip up. Old habits are strong. View mistakes not as failures, but as learning opportunities. What triggered the old response? What could you try differently next time? So connect to your why. Celebrate progress. Learn from mistakes.
That sounds like building resilience for the process itself.
It is, and underpinning all of these steps is use mindfulness to anchor your practice.
Mindfulness again. How does it fit here?
Mindfulness, that focused, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, is like the glue that holds EI development together. It strengthens self-awareness, helps create the pause needed for self-regulation, and allows you to be more present for others, enhancing empathy. How to practice mindfulness simply. Daily mindfulness breaks. Even 5-10 minutes a day, focusing on your breath, body sensations, or sounds around you can make a difference. Apps can guide you. Mindful pauses. Throughout the day, take brief moments, even 30 seconds, to just pause, breathe, and check in with yourself before moving to the next task or conversation. Okay, one last step. You mentioned feedback earlier.
Yes. Seek feedback and reflect. Growth accelerates when you understand how your emotional behavior actually impacts others.
How do you get that feedback? It can be awkward to ask.
It can be, so start small. Ask trusted people. Choose a few people you trust, a friend, partner, mentor, and ask for specific, honest feedback. How did I seem to handle that stressful meeting? Be prepared to listen openly. Use self-reflection tools, your journal, maybe even recording yourself practicing a conversation if appropriate. Mood tracking apps, these can provide data for reflection. Be open-minded. This is key. Try to receive feedback as a gift, even if it's difficult to hear. See it as valuable data for growth, not criticism of who you are.
Awareness, regulation, empathy, social skills, motivation, mindfulness, feedback. That's a really comprehensive and actionable toolkit.
It is. And the key, as you said earlier, is consistent practice. It's a journey. These steps, practiced regularly, make EI skills stronger and more natural over time.
This journey sounds rewarding, but let's be realistic. It's probably not always easy. People likely face obstacles when trying to develop their EI. It's important to acknowledge those, right?
Absolutely crucial. Growth rarely happens without challenges. Knowing the common hurdles can help you anticipate them and develop strategies so you don't get derailed when things feel tough. It normalizes the struggle.
Okay, so what are some of those common challenges people face?
One big one is that emotional awareness feels uncomfortable. Digging into feelings, especially difficult ones like sadness, fear, or shame, can feel vulnerable or painful. The instinct might be to avoid it.
So people just shy away from self-reflection.
Yes. To overcome this, start small. Focus on milder emotions first. Practice self-compassion. Remind yourself it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. All emotions are valid human experiences. Maybe use guided resources like journaling prompts or mindfulness apps initially.
Ease into it gently. Okay, what's another challenge?
Difficulty regulating strong emotions. When you're really triggered intense anger, deep fear, overwhelming sadness, it can feel impossible to use those regulation techniques. The emotion just sweeps you away.
The amygdala hijack feels too powerful.
Exactly. To overcome this, develop your toolbox before you need it. Practice deep breathing, the S-P technique, maybe having a go-to calming activity like a walk or music when you're calm. This builds the muscle memory. Also, seek support. Talking through intense feelings with a trusted friend or therapist can help process them.
Build the tools when calm, seek support when overwhelmed. Got it. What about empathy? Can that be challenging?
Yes, definitely. Empathy fatigue or overwhelm. This is especially common for people in caring professions or anyone who deals with a lot of others' suffering. Constantly feeling others' pain can be exhausting.
Taking on too much of other people's stuff.
Kind of. You risk burnout. To overcome this, learn to set healthy boundaries. Understand the difference between empathy, understanding someone's feelings, and emotional contagion, absorbing their feelings. Practice compassionate detachment, care deeply, but protect your own emotional resources through self-care, exercise, hobbies, downtime.
So empathy with boundaries and self-care. Makes sense. What about the social skills part? Does that feel hard for people?
It often does. Social skills feel awkward or forced. When you're consciously trying to listen more actively or manage conflict differently, it can feel unnatural, like you're performing or being inauthentic.
These fake.
Yeah. To overcome this, be patient with yourself. Learning any new skill feels awkward at first. Practice in lower stakes situations first, for example, with a supportive friend. Focus on genuine curiosity and interest in the other person, rather than just trying to say the right thing. Authenticity grows with practice.
Patience and focusing on genuine interest. Okay. What if people just resist the whole idea of changing?
That's a big one. Resistance to change. Our emotional habits are often deeply ingrained. Confronting uncomfortable truths about ourselves or trying to change long-standing patterns can trigger resistance.
This is just how I am.
Exactly. Or fear the unknown. To overcome this, reconnect with your why. Why is developing EI important to you? Keep that motivation front and center. Set realistic expectations. Change is gradual, not overnight. Maybe find an accountability partner, a friend, coach, or group to support you through the resistance.
Find your why. Be realistic. Get support. Good strategies. Any other common challenges?
One more. Lack of feedback. It's hard to know if you're improving or what to adjust if you don't get any sense of how your efforts are landing with others.
Flying blind.
Right. To overcome this, proactively but appropriately, ask for feedback from trusted sources. Use those self-reflection tools, consistently journaling, reviewing interactions in your mind, and cultivate that open-mindedness to receive feedback when it does come your way, even if unsolicited.
So, discomfort, regulating strong feelings, empathy fatigue, awkwardness, resistance, lack of feedback, those are significant hurdles.
They are, but they're normal parts of the process. The key isn't to avoid them, but to approach them with those strategies. Patience, self-compassion, persistence, and a willingness to learn and adapt. Challenges are where the real growth often happens.
That's a great perspective. Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly address some common myths about emotional intelligence. As it's become more popular, misconceptions have definitely cropped up. Debunking these might help clear the path for people.
Excellent idea. Clearing up myths is really important. Let's tackle a few common ones.
Go for it. What's myth number one?
Myth 1. Emotional intelligence is just being nice. This is probably the most common one.
But it's not just about being pleasant all the time.
Not at all. While kindness and agreeableness can be related, true EI is about effectively recognizing, understanding, and managing emotions, yours and others. Sometimes that means setting firm boundaries, delivering difficult feedback constructively, or saying no. It's about effectiveness, not just niceness.
Okay, effectiveness, not just niceness. Myth busted. What's next?
Myth 2. You either have emotional intelligence or you don't. The idea that it's a fixed, innate trait.
We've pretty thoroughly debunked that one already, haven't we?
We have, but it bears repeating. It's absolutely not fixed. EI is a set of skills that can be learned, practiced, and strengthened throughout life. Neuroplasticity proves the brain can change. This myth is simply outdated.
Good. Myth 3.
Myth 3. Emotional intelligence means avoiding negative emotions or suppressing them.
So EI people are just happy all the time.
Definitely not. That would be unrealistic and unhealthy. EI isn't about avoiding anger, sadness, or fear. It's about acknowledging all emotions, understanding their messages, and managing them constructively so they don't overwhelm you or lead to destructive behavior. It's about emotional regulation, not suppression.
Acknowledging and managing, not avoiding. Got it. Myth 4.
Myth 4. Being emotionally intelligent means you're weak or soft.
The idea that dealing with emotions is somehow less tough than pure logic.
Exactly. But actually, developing EI requires significant courage and strength. It takes strength to face uncomfortable emotions honestly, to communicate vulnerably, to remain calm under pressure, and to handle conflicts with composure and empathy. It's anything but weak.
Strength, not weakness. Okay.
Another.
Myth 5. Emotional intelligence is only important in personal relationships.
So it's just for home life, not for work or other areas. Completely false. As we've discussed, EI is crucial in every area of life. It's a key predictor of success and effectiveness in business, leadership, education, healthcare, you name it. It impacts teamwork, decision-making, customer service, everything.
Relevant everywhere. Myth 6.
Myth 6. Emotional intelligence is about manipulating others, using emotional understanding to exploit people.
Ooh, that sounds cynical. Is there truth to that?
While it's theoretically possible for someone to misuse understanding of emotions, that's not what true emotional intelligence is about. Authentic EI is based on genuineness, empathy, and building trust. It aims for mutual understanding and positive relationships, not exploitation. Using emotional knowledge manipulatively is actually a sign of low ethical intelligence, not high EI.
Good distinction. Authentic EI builds trust, doesn't exploit it. Last myth.
Myth 7. You can become emotionally intelligent overnight, or after reading one book or attending one workshop.
The quick fix myth.
Exactly. As we've emphasized, developing EI is a lifelong journey. It requires ongoing practice, consistent self-reflection, learning from experience, and patience. There are no shortcuts to genuine emotional mastery. It's a process, not an event.
Nice, weak, fixed, irrelevant, manipulative, overnight, all busted.
Hopefully. Understanding what EI truly is and isn't helps people approach it realistically and with the right mindset for growth.
Absolutely. So as we draw towards the end of this deep dive, let's explicitly tie emotional intelligence back to mental health and overall well-being. You've touched on it, but let's make that connection crystal clear.
Yes, it's a fundamental connection. EI isn't just a performance enhancer. It's a core component of psychological resilience and mental wellness.
How does it contribute directly to better mental health?
Well, when you develop your EI, you get better at understanding and managing your own emotional landscape. This directly helps reduce the intensity and duration of negative emotional states like stress, anxiety, and even symptoms of depression.
By managing the emotional reactions better.
Exactly. People with higher EI are often more attuned to early warning signs of distress in themselves. They can recognize when they're starting to feel overwhelmed or burnt out and take proactive steps. Maybe adjusting their workload, seeking support, practicing self-care.
They catch things earlier.
Yes. They're also better equipped to communicate their feelings and needs effectively to others. This reduces misunderstandings, prevents feelings from festering, and helps build stronger, more supportive social networks, which are vital buffers against mental health challenges.
Good communication prevents isolation.
Precisely. And higher EI fosters resilience, that ability to bounce back from adversity. When setbacks happen, people with stronger EI skills are better able to manage the disappointment or frustration, learn from the experience, and adapt rather than getting stuck in negative cycles.
It helps them navigate life's inevitable bumps more effectively.
Absolutely. It's no coincidence that many therapeutic approaches, like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, incorporate techniques that directly build EI skills. Things like mindfulness, emotion regulation, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness.
So therapists are essentially teaching EI skills.
In many ways, yes. They recognize that strengthening these emotional competencies is key to improving mental health. You can really think of emotional intelligence as an essential toolkit for navigating your inner world and your relationships in a way that supports and strengthens your mental health and overall quality of life.
What a powerful connection. Okay, so after this incredibly comprehensive deep dive, exploring the definition, the science, the benefits, the applications, the practical steps, the challenges, and the myths, let's circle back to our original question one last time. Can emotional intelligence be taught?
The answer is clear, isn't it?
It seems unequivocally, resoundingly yes.
Absolutely. A powerful, evidence-backed yes. It is not some fixed, inborn trait bestowed only upon a lucky few.
It's a dynamic, trainable, adaptable set of skills and abilities.
Feels that anyone, truly anyone, at any stage of life can choose to learn, nurture, practice, and master over time.
And we've seen how profoundly it impacts almost every aspect of our lives, from childhood learning to corporate leadership, from personal relationships to mental well-being. It shapes how we connect, communicate, lead, and cope.
It really does permeate everything.
So perhaps a final thought for our listeners as they reflect on all this.
Just this. Embarking on the journey to cultivate your emotional intelligence takes commitment. Yes. It requires patience with yourself and consistent practice. But the rewards are truly immense.
Deeper relationships.
Better decisions, improved wellness, a more fulfilling life overall. So whether you're just starting to think about EI or you're already consciously working on these skills, remember that every small step you take strengthens your capacity to understand yourself and your capacity to genuinely connect with and understand others.
And that capacity is invaluable.
It truly is a gift worth cultivating. So maybe the question to leave you with is, what one small step will you take today or this week to cultivate that gift in your own life?
A perfect thought to end on. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights today. This has been incredibly illuminating.
My pleasure entirely. It's a fascinating and vital topic.
Thank you, our listener, for joining us on this deep dive into the world of emotional intelligence, brought to you by the Learn English Lab.
We really hope you'll reflect on what we've discussed and consider how you might apply some of these ideas in your own life.
Until next time, keep digging deeper, keep exploring, and join us again soon for another deep dive. And please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.